Good day, students. Welcome to your English literature lesson for class 7. The topic of this lesson is a drive in the motor car. This is part 2 of this lesson. So before we start the lesson, we have to revise the story we had read in the part 1 of the lesson. Okay, let's see if you can answer these questions. And the questions are, in the beginning of the story, why was everyone so excited? Who was driving the car? Who was hurt in the accident? What did the author's mother do with his dangling nose? And will the author's nose be healed ever? So if you know the answers to these questions, we are ready to move on with our lesson and start part 2 of this lesson. But if you don't, then you need to revise it and read the previous pages again. These were from page 49 to page 54, I think. Okay. So in the beginning of the story, the family members in the Christmas holidays, they were very happy because the family had just bought a brand new French automobile. And the name of that automobile was Didion Boughton. The eldest sister, who was half-sister of the author, and she was 21 years old, she was driving the car. The author, who is a little boy, he was hurt in the accident. His nose was almost cut off his face in the accident. His mother tried to keep the nose in its place with a handkerchief. The nose was just hanging with a bit of skin. And the next question we are going to find the answer of in this lesson is, will the author's nose be healed? So what do you think? Will it be healed, or will he have to live without a nose for the rest of his life? So let's find out. As you know, before we start reading, we have to first read the new words we're going to find here. So here's the list of these words. And these are: number 1, fired; 2, cogs; 3, meshed; 4, harassed; 5, careered; 6, magnificent; 7, tottered; 8, hustled; 9, moaned; 10, stench; 11, chloroform; 12, anxious; and 13, sovereign. So let's find the meaning of these words as well. Okay, here fight means started. Cogs are the teeth, the projecting parts, the outward parts on the edge of a gear wheel. Meshed means to fit or work closely together here. Harassed, agitated or distressed. Careered, to rush forward while lurching or swaying. Magnificent, splendid. Tottered means walk unsteadily. Hustled, to move somebody roughly or hurriedly from a place. Moaned, whined. Stench, smell. Chloroform, a colorless, sweet-smelling toxic liquid that rapidly changes to a vapor and causes unconsciousness if inhaled. Anxious means worried. Sovereign, a gold coin worth £1 used in Britain between the early 17th century and the early 20th century. So now we're ready to start reading, and we are going to be reading from page 53. Okay. My mother was leaning over me in the rear seat and saying, "Lean back and keep your head still." To the ancient sister, she said, "Can you get this thing going again?" The sister pressed the starter, and to everyone's surprise, the engine fired. "Back it out of the hedge," my mother said, "and hurry." The sister had trouble finding reverse gear. The cogs were grinding against each other with a fearful noise. "I've never actually driven it backwards," she admitted. Everyone, with the exception of the driver, my mother, and me, was out of the car and standing on the road. The noise of gear wheels grinding against each other was terrible. It sounded as if a lawnmower was being driven over rocks. The ancient sister was using bad words and going crimson in the face. But then my brother leaned his head over the driver's door and said, "Don't you have to put your foot on the clutch?" So this is the end of page 53, and in the story we see that after the accident, the mother is asking the older sister to start the motor car again, but as the girl is really worried, really distressed and stressed, so she's finding it very difficult to reverse the car, and the gears are making a terrible noise. So as she's trying frantically to get the car moving in the reverse direction, her brother leans over her and tells her to press the clutch. So let's see what happens on page 54. Does she manage to move the car or not? Okay, page 54. The harassed driver depressed the clutch pedal and the gears meshed, and 1 second later the great black beast leapt forwards out of the hedge and careered across the road into the hedge on the other side. "Try to keep cool," my mother said. "Go forward slowly." At last the shattered motor car was driven out of the second hedge and stood sideways across the road. "Jump back in the car," my mother cried. "We're going to the doctor." "There's glass all over the seats," they said. "Never mind the glass," my mother said. "We've got to get this boy to the doctor fast." The passengers crawled back into the car. The ancient sister managed to straighten the vehicle and get it pointed in the right direction. And then at last, the once magnificent automobile tottered down the highway and headed for Dr. Dunbar's surgery on Cathedral Road, Cardiff. "I've never driven in a city," the ancient and trembling sister announced. "You are about to do so," my mother said. "Keep going." Proceeding at no more than 4 miles an hour all the way, we finally made it to Dr. Dunbar's house. I was hustled out of the car and in through the front door with my mother, still holding the blood-stained handkerchief over my blood-stained nose. Okay, this is the end of page 54, and the story is that the girl finally manages to reverse the car and get it pointed in the right direction. Everyone gets in and they are headed to the doctor's house, which is in the city Cardiff on Cathedral Road. So this time the mother tells the daughter to drive slowly, and it takes them a lot of time, but finally they make it to the doctor's house, and the author is taken in with his mother still holding her handkerchief over his nose. So let's see what the doctor says about his condition now. Let's read page 55. Oh, no, we have some questions first. Okay. Answer these questions and then we will go to page 55. And these questions are: why were the gears making a loud noise when the driver tried to reverse the car? Where did the mother of the children decide to go after the accident? And at what speed did they reach the doctor's house? Okay, why were the gears making a loud noise when the driver tried to reverse the car? The gears were making a loud noise because the driver had forgotten to use the clutch while changing the gears. And where did the mother of the children decide to go after the accident? The mother of the children decided to go to Dr. Dunbar's surgery on Cathedral Road, Cardiff. Last question. At what speed did they reach the doctor's house? They drove no more than 4 miles an hour till they reached Dr. Dunbar's house. So these were easy questions. And now let's read forward. Page 55 it is. Okay. Good heavens, cried Dr. Dunbar. It's been clean cut off. It hurts, I moaned. He can't go round without a nose for the rest of his life, the doctor said to my mother. It looks as though he may have to, my mother said. Nonsense, the doctor told her. I shall sew it on again. Can you do that? My mother asked him. I can try, he answered. I shall tape it on for now, and I'll be up at your house with my assistant very soon. Huge strips of sticking plaster were strapped across my face to hold the nose in position. Then I was led back to the car, and we crawled the 2 miles home to Llandaff. About an hour later, I found myself lying on the nursery table. Strong hands held me down. A mask stuffed with cotton wool was clamped over my face. I saw a hand above me holding a bottle. White liquid was being poured onto the cotton wool inside the mask. I smelled the sickly stench of chloroform and ether, and a voice was saying, "Breathe deeply. Take some nice deep breaths." I fought fiercely to get off that table, but my shoulders were pinned down by the full weight of a large man. The hand that was holding the bottle above my face kept tilting it further forward, and the white liquid dripped and dripped onto the cotton wool. Blood-red circles began to appear before my eyes, and the circles started to spin round until they made a scarlet whirlpool with a deep black hole in the center. Okay, this is end of page 55, and the story is that the doctor decides to sew the author's nose back on and try if it heals this way. So the doctor says that he's going to stick the nose with plaster, and then he will come to the author's house and do the surgery or operation or the work of sewing the nose back there. So the family again goes back to their house, and later when the doctor arrives, the whole operation is done on the nursery table. So somebody is holding the author down, pressing his shoulders, keeping him laying there, and a mask with the cotton wool is on his nose, asking him to breathe deeply on his nose and in his mouth probably, and he starts to go to sleep. Okay, let's see if the doctor manages to do the work he's trying. Right, but after you answer these questions. So question 1. What did the doctor decide to do with the author's nose? Sew it, stick a new nose in its place, or throw it away? What is the correct answer? Question number 2. How long did it take the family to go back to their house from the doctor's? 3 hours, 2 hours, or 1 hour? Where was the operation on the author's nose performed? In the lawn, on the nursery table, or on the sofa? And what was the author made to breathe in, and why? Perfume to make the author feel good, fish oil to heal the wound, or chloroform and ether to induce unconsciousness? So these are easy questions. Think of the correct answer, choose the correct answer quickly. Okay, here are the answers. What did the doctor decide to do with the author's nose? The correct answer is sew it. How long did it take the family to go back to their house from the doctor's? It took them 2 hours. And where was the operation on the author's nose performed? It was performed on the nursery table. What was the author made to breathe in and why? He was made to breathe chloroform and ether so that he may go to sleep. Okay, so now we start the last page, which is page 56. Oh, no, not yet. Yes, it is, page 56. Right. Okay, so there is one sentence from page 55 here, from the last sentence first, and then page 56. Okay. Miles away in the distance, a voice was saying, "That's a good boy. We're nearly there now. Just close your eyes and go to sleep." I woke up in my own bed with my anxious mother sitting beside me, holding my hand. "I didn't think you were ever going to come round," she said. "You've been asleep for more than 8 hours. "Did Dr. Dunbar sew my nose on again?" I asked her. "Yes," she said. "Will it stay on?" "He says it will." "How do you feel, my darling?" "Sick," I said. After I had vomited into a small basin, I felt a little better. "Look under your pillow," my mother said, smiling. I turned and lifted a corner of my pillow, and underneath it, on the snow-white sheet, there lay a beautiful golden sovereign with the head of King George V on its uppermost side. "That's for being brave," my mother said. "You did very well. I'm proud of you." Roald Dahl from Boy. So finally we come to the end of the story, and it is a happy ending. So after the boy fell asleep, the doctor sewed his nose on, and when he woke up, his mother was right there with him. He asked if his nose will stay on, and the mother assures him that the doctor says it will. After vomiting, he felt a little better, and his mother gave him a sovereign, a coin for being brave. And you know now what a sovereign is. A sovereign is a gold coin worth £1 that was used during 17th and early 20th centuries. Okay, so this was a nice story. I hope you have learned some lesson by this story. There will be a question about this in the exercises. So here are a few more questions just to revise the story. How long had the author been asleep? For 8 hours, for 4 hours, or for 6 hours? What did the author's mother give him? A snow-white sheet and pillow? A sovereign? Or a toy car? Why did the author's mother give him a sovereign? For being injured? For waking up? Or for being brave? And which book is the story taken from? The name of that book is Roald Dahl, Boy or Girl? So what are the answers? Just give them a thought, and then we'll see what they are. Okay, have you thought up of the answers? So how long was the author asleep? Yes, the correct answer is 8 hours. What did the author's mother give him? She gave him a sovereign. What did the author's mother give him a sovereign for? For being brave. And which book is the story taken from? That book is Boy. So now we come to some information about the author. The author of this book, Boy, is Roald Dahl. So let's read about him. Roald Dahl, 1916 to 1990, was born in Wales to Norwegian parents. He attended school in Wales but did not go on to study at university. After starting work as a salesman, he joined the Royal Air Force at the age of 23 when war broke out and trained to be a pilot. For the first 15 years of his writing career, Dahl concentrated on books for adults, but then he started writing for children and became the most successful writer of children's stories in the world. Roald Dahl died in 1990. The extract here is taken from the story of his early childhood, Boy. Okay, here was a little information about the author. Do you know of any other books written by Roald Dahl? There were many stories written by him and made into movies also. So let's revise the whole story all together. Okay. In the beginning of the story, why was everyone so excited? Same question again. I hope you know the answer by now. What did the author's mother do with his dangling nose? Where did the mother of the children decide to go after the accident? And what did the doctor decide to do with the author's nose? What did the author's mother give him? And why did the author's mother give him that gift, that sovereign? So I hope you know all the answers by now. In the beginning of the story, all the family members were excited because the family had just bought a brand new French car. And the author's mother took her handkerchief and placed the nose back on his face in the proper place and kept it on there with her handkerchief. Where did the mother of the children decide to go after the accident? She quickly decided to take the boy to the doctor. And the doctor lived in Cardiff, the city of Cardiff. So they had a long way to go. What did the doctor decide to do with the author's nose? He decided to sew it back on. What did the author's mother give him? The author's mother gave him a sovereign. And why did she give him that? She gave him because he was a brave boy. Okay, now we finally come to the end of the lesson, and here is your homework. We have already done questions 1 to 5 from exercise A as homework for part 1 of the lesson, and now we have to do the rest of these. Now from exercise A you have to do questions 6 to 9. How did the mother react during the crisis? What actions did she take to sort things out? Question 7, the author says, strong hands held me down. Why was this necessary? How does this treatment then compare to treatment these days? So you have to tell how operations are done now and how it was done in those days, in the olden days when the author was a young boy. Question 8. How were driving practices different back then? Highlight the parts of the story that illustrate this difference. So we have seen many differences. There was no proper training for drivers. There were no driving tests. There was no concept of a license or speed limits, anything like this. So these were all the different differences between driving practices of old times and nowadays. If you can think of something more, write them also, and write also the lines from the story which tell you about these differences, or the part of the story. Mention that part of the story where you have found this difference. Okay, for question now 9, what can this story teach us about road safety? So whatever you have learned, you have to write your own views here now. Like if you think that we should follow speed limit, there should be proper training for the drivers, nobody should be allowed to drive without a driving test and license. So everything that comes to you, you can write here. So do not worry about writing a wrong answer, because this is all that you have to write, whatever you think. So don't think that you have to write very long answers, just write whatever comes to your mind. Okay, so I hope you will be able to do this exercise easily and it will not be very difficult for you. Now exercise B is also very easy. This is reference to context exercise. You have to read the line and then answer the questions. The questions again do not need to be long, you just have to write the answers to the point. Write in small easy sentences. Exercise C, words and meaning. Here are the words, you have to find the meaning and write them. For this you can use a dictionary or an online dictionary. So by now I hope you are very good at using dictionary, so this is not difficult. For part 2 of this exercise, you have to find out what the following words mean. Again, you have to find the meaning of these words, and you have to also mention the place where they are found on a vehicle. So what part of the vehicle are they, like brake, axle, exhaust, radiator, indicator, starter, hubcap, fan, belt, bonnet and accelerator. So these are just common words about any motor car, any vehicle, and this is also an easy exercise. So this is the end of the lesson. Thank you for your attention and bye till the next lesson.